Discover the best-kept secrets from the leading entrepreneurs across the globe. Learn from the greatest minds in business with the MyCoda podcast. Here's your host, Sam Payne.
Okay, what's up everybody, and welcome to another episode of the MyCoda podcast. Now, today's guest is Phil Bosua, and Phil was the CEO and founder, or one of the founders of LIFX. And for the guys out there that aren't familiar with LIFX, they created one of the coolest products that I think I've seen for a long time, literally reinvented the bulb. And one of the really cool things about LIFX, and one of the things that me and Phil talk about a lot in detail in this interview, is the Kickstarter campaign that started all this off and how successful it was, how it really helped them in the first year or so of their business. And you'll hear numbers from Phil of how much they sold, the investment they got, even investments from VCs once they launched and got out the back of that Kickstarter campaign. And for guys out there who are thinking of starting a Kickstarter campaign, this episode, guys, is just 100% for you, okay? Just to put it in perspective, Phil started his Kickstarter campaign with a goal of $100,000, and they absolutely killed it and raised over $1.3 million just from the Kickstarter campaign, and they've done it in a matter of 6 days. Now, if that's not a successful Kickstarter campaign, I don't know what is. So, guys, Phil tells you how this was done. We break down the processes they went through to set that campaign up. We go through the timelines they went through, how they set their budget, how they set their the pledges, the different rewards, different pledges off people. We go through what happened afterwards, how they got so much investment after they started that Kickstarter campaign, and then the success that that company got once it launched. Now, Phil is no longer part of LIFX. He's moved on from that project, but he's moving on to bigger and better things as well. And we also discuss Phil's plans in the future and what he's got coming up next. So this is a really cool interview, guys, and one that you can learn a lot from, especially if you're going into this Kickstarter route. So pin your ears back, guys. I'll leave the intro here. Here is the MyCoda podcast with Phil Bosua.
Good morning, Phil. How are you doing today?
Yeah, good, Sam.
Good. Thank you for joining us today, mate. I've been checking your stuff out, and I love LIFX and the products you produce there. So I've been very excited to see how this all happened. Before we start, though, for the guys out there that may not be familiar with you, could you just introduce yourself and what it is you do?
Yeah, so I'm Phil Bosua. A lot of people know me from being the founder of LIFX and the inventor of the LIFX light bulb. I put a Kickstarter campaign up for that and did really well. And then I was CEO for LIFX for maybe about two and a half years. And then I resigned and started a bunch of other things at the moment.
Okay, cool. And we'll get on to the... I want to talk a bit more about the Kickstarter stuff as well, because for the theme of this podcast is all about business startups. And I think the guys listening will get a lot from your experiences and how successful your Kickstarter campaign was. So let's go back to when it first started for you, though. I mean, what made you first decide you wanted to become an entrepreneur and start your own business?
I think maybe I was an entrepreneur before I even knew what the word entrepreneur meant.
Yeah, okay.
So I've been doing businesses for maybe 10, 15 years or so. So that I sort of stumbled into startups, actually. I'd never really heard of startups until 3 or 4 years ago. And
the businesses you had before that, were they mainly offline businesses?
Yeah, definitely. Except I was running I had an app company because I had an app on the App Store on day one. Yeah. So it was only 500 apps on the store then, and so I had one of those. So that was...
Okay, that was first in the door.
Yeah, yep.
What was the app about?
It was a stupid Halloween soundboard. So it just played scary sounds. But I probably, made $20,000 or $30,000 from that because when there wasn't many things on the store, everyone was just literally buying everything that came out. It was amazing.
That's awesome. And from there, I mean, why light bulbs? What made you think to reinvent the bulb?
It's not something that I sat down to do. I was having a beer with a friend of mine who was a pilot, and he had a really nice house, and he was like, hey, Phil, I want to renovate my home and I want to put a new light in, but I'd have to cut internal brickwork to get the switch wire down. And so I was an electrical contractor at one point, but he knew that I was sort of inventive and into tech and stuff. So he said, "Is there any way that you know to switch a light on and off without a switch?" And I said, because I was like headlong into apps, I'd been doing apps maybe 2-3 years then. My natural thought was, oh, there must be an app for that. So, I'll go home and I'll find a few things and I'll send you a link where you can go and buy it. And then I started imagining what I thought that light bulb might actually be and what it might do. And then thinking, well, someone's done this before. And then literally went home. I couldn't find anything. And I'm like, hang on.
Yeah,
I think I might.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I mean, you had an extremely successful Kickstarter project. So what made you decide to go down the Kickstarter route in the first place?
I was a fanboy, total Kickstarter fanboy. I pledged a bunch of times. I'd actually done another Kickstarter before LIFX, and so had a little bit of success with that too.
And Phil, you mentioned then you asked your friend, or your friend approached you about this problem. So once you left your friend's house, did you do any more validating before you went and started the Kickstarter project? Yeah,
I mean, I did just family and friends validation. So I didn't do any focus groups or anything like that, certainly. I probably got a bigger than expected response from that, or a more excited than expected response. So pretty much everyone I was telling was just like, oh my God, that's amazing. Yeah. One person who actually ended up becoming my co-founder said to me, after I showed him this little video and told him about the concept, he goes, "Oh, Phil, I think you may have just reinvented the light bulb."
What an awesome way to put it.
Yeah.
And I mean, let's talk about the Kickstarter campaign. Firstly, how did you, for the guys out there thinking of doing this, how did you put together your Kickstarter campaign? Like, how long did it take you to gather everything you needed to put together, like basically the sales page that is on the campaign?
Yeah, look, probably 2 to 3 months to get it all together. I'd had video production experience, so mainly in editing. I was like a professional editor for about 5 years there.
Yeah.
So that skill came in quite handy because we spent 4 weeks editing the video just after getting all the shots together. It was probably took about 3 days to shoot, maybe 4 days. We spent 3 days writing the script because it's really difficult to get your message down to a concise, sort of simple, a simple way to explain something that's very complex. That's difficult to do. And so you just got to, spend lots and lots of time sort of whittling it down and honing it down. Like I think it's an Abraham Lincoln quote where he says at the start of one of his letters, "Apologies, I didn't get time to write you a shorter letter."
Yeah. I mean, for guys out there that may struggle getting their message across, because even with general websites that offer their services or their products, sometimes it's very hard just to identify what it is that's on offer. So is there a certain process you go through to go from your script that you had in the first place and then whittling it down to just the bare minimum that needs to be in there to get your message across?
Yeah, I do this thing called an IER, an intended emotional response. Okay. So I always start with that. Like once, say Kickstarter video, for example, like once people finish watching the Kickstarter video, what am I hoping that they are feeling? And then I write that down really concisely, and we spend a bit of time trying to figure out like what that actually is. Like it's not just something you come off the top of your head. It might take you an hour or two to get the words right and all this. And then once you've got that, then everything you do, if it's not supporting that, it's a waste of time.
Yeah. And did you that's amazing advice, by the way. I've got to put that in there. I've never heard that before, but that's brilliant. And once you had your message, did you go to people like friends and family during that process and say, do you understand what I'm offering here? Like, did you ask anyone else's opinion on this along the route?
Oh, totally. Like the whole time, every day. In fact, I think my family got a little sick of me.
Yeah.
To the point when we were editing the video, we were in San Francisco. We had an Airbnb and for about a month because it was fun to do that. And sometimes I think what you put into these projects is what reflects back. So we had a lot of fun doing it.
Yeah.
And we had a few little house parties while we were over there, as you do.
Of course,
and,
why not?
And everyone that would walk through the door, we'd go, sit down, look at this, and get their feedback. And no, it was it's a very important part of that process.
Yeah, and for people that are considering doing this, I mean, how did you come up with your original pledge that you wanted to raise?
We basically, what was the bare minimum we needed to get these bulbs out of the door? There was no wages or no income for anybody. It was literally costs of the goods and shipping. And because you need some kind of volume, because you can't just order 5 parts, you got to order 500 or 5,000. So, we took that into account as well. That's where we came up with that. And
again, could you explain how you decided to set the different rewards for different pledges as well?
There wasn't a lot involved in that because we really had one bulb or one variant as well. So it was just basically how many bulbs do you want. We had an early bird special. At the time, that was only just emerging as a concept on Kickstarter. So we jumped on that as well. And that was awesome because what it does is if people are sort of teetering on whether they want it or not, then an early bird special just helps you get quick sales or quick pledges in through the door at the start, and which helps the campaign get some momentum.
Yeah. And what was the original pledge that you wanted to raise?
We wanted $100,000.
And how much did you actually raise in the end?
We raised $1.3 million in 6 days.
That is insane. That is insane. Well, I mean, how did you guys feel when that happened? That must have been an incredible feeling.
I don't think I slept for maybe 3 days. At one point, I actually collapsed on a bed because it wasn't just the campaign. We had press, and I think I did 40 interviews in 3 days. And we, at one point too, we were trying to support all the people that were saying, "Oh, how does this work? What about this? And what about that?" And we had 3 people going at the responses to these questions all the time. In between my interviews, I'd jump back on and type away, and even with 3 people, the questions were coming in faster than we could answer them. There would be 20 questions on a Kickstarter page in their back end, so we'd answer all those and we'd hit refresh, and then 2 extra pages would come up, and we were like, how are we going to do this? So at one point we got 5 or 6 of our friends who happened to be in New York at the time, got them all into a Starbucks and spent 6 hours in the Starbucks just trying to see through all this things.
A proper a no cuff too tough situation, eh?
Well, I think I know what you mean, but that sounds like a very English saying.
Yeah. It just means you roll with the punches, man. You just done what you had to do. So
yeah, totally.
And I mean, you absolutely smashed your target then. So once the campaign ended and you had the capital to start making your bulbs, what did you do? How did you start allocating the funds to ensure that you utilised every penny that you raised?
We set aside enough money to make the bulbs, but we didn't have a lot of headroom because, we'd pretty much done it close to COGS for the campaign. So we had some people reach out to us, like VCs and investors, angel investors. So we were very fortunate to raise a $2 million round really quickly. And then that floated the wages, basically. Yeah.
And I mean, I'd like to ask a bit more about the VC investment then, because you said you got $2 million at that point, but what was the total investment that you guys raised through VCs?
I just looked it up on Crunchbase, and I think it's 15 million in total.
That's insane. That's insane. I mean, it's like the dream startup, isn't it? This is what most people dream of. But I can imagine it must be quite overwhelming as well, just to have this sudden influx of funds and people supporting you. I mean, did you guys find it hard to deal with that, or was it something that was enjoyable?
Look, it was as hard as it was enjoyable. Yeah.
And so you raised the funds and you launched LIFX. So how long did it take you to actually launch LIFX after the campaign ended?
We shipped probably within about 12 months. Yep.
Okay. And once you launched LIFX, what was that first year like for you guys? I mean, do you feel that the Kickstarter campaign raised a lot of awareness around LIFX and actually contributed to the success of the company?
Oh, without a doubt. We had like Best Buy reaching out to us within weeks after the Kickstarter campaign. There was a lot of venture capital, inquiries. Can we invest? Then the best thing Kickstarter did for us, other than validated our product and got us a bunch of really loyal customers, was anytime we sent an email out where we wanted to get in touch with someone, everyone knew who we were. Yeah. So we had an open door. Like I can't really remember a time where we didn't reach out to someone and they didn't, want to talk to us or something.
Yeah. And as well, I mean, in that first sort of, even in the first few months to up to the sort of end of the first year, how many sort of units were you guys shipping within that first year?
I think it was 23,000 units from Kickstarter. And then we opened up what we called a second batch, which was basically once we knew everything was locked in and we felt confident that to increase the capacity. I think we did another 30,000 units or something within a week or two. But we've been collecting people's email addresses so we could, let them know when it was going to happen.
And was there any point, I mean, this was obviously a huge success, so was there any point when you was going through the idea of actually making this that you thought this maybe isn't the best idea and you wasn't going to go through with it?
There was a couple of skittish people in the office the day the Philips Hue came out.
Yeah.
Which was about 2 or 3 months after our campaign.
Yeah.
So one of my co-founders turned to me and went, maybe we should pivot. And I'm like, pivot? I said, this multi-billion-dollar lighting company just completely validated our idea and stole all our marketing. So we're not pivoting. We're going head-to-head with these people.
I can imagine that. And I mean, Phil, you're no longer part of LIFX, so what are you up to now?
I am doing a bunch of things, as you do in Silicon Valley. It's a very entrepreneur-friendly environment. There's lots of people that, are into all these things. But one of the things I am doing is I am starting another lighting company. So not exactly sure what direction we're going to go down or how we're going to, release products and stuff. Maybe Kickstarter, maybe not. But very much putting a team together at the moment. I've got 6 of us together and we're going to launch something I'm really, really excited about. It's very different to LIFX, but something I'm super excited about.
That's awesome. And did you find that having the success with LIFX, and you said you mentioned that you're going into another lighting company, was it something that now you've got that knowledge base you can easily pick up and just apply to a completely different company?
No, I could. I'd invented a speaker that I think would be one of the better speakers in the world, like a little mini speaker similar to Sonos, maybe, like a bit of a mix of Sonos and Jambox. So I spent 6 months thinking about that, but decided in the end for various reasons not to do that. I was looking at a smart pillow at one point. It's a massive market. People need a lot of help sleeping. And so that was something I was toying with for a few months, and I still may do that as well. I'm really excited by the feature set and, actually helping people get a better night's sleep is, I think, a really valid thing to sort of sell. So no, there's lots of things that have gone through my head, but the first thing I got excited enough about to just go, pardon my French, fuck it, let's do this, was another lighting company.
Yeah, and I mean, you've come up with these are big ideas, and it takes a very creative mind to do this. So if people have got, firstly, actually, before we start, is it always something that comes easy to you, being creative with your thinking and applying that to actually making the product?
I'd say at this point in time, yeah. But, there's probably been a lot of years of, where it wasn't so good. But, yeah, I feel like it is a bit of a skill or an experience base or something. But, yeah, at the moment, I do find that process quite easy and enjoyable.
I mean, and for guys out there who, they may not be as creative as you, but they've still got the same sort of aspirations to make these amazing products. What advice could you give them to go and find, or how can they recognise the right person to collaborate with to start coming up with these ideas and putting them into action?
I think maybe the right person is someone that makes you better and makes how you approach things or your skills even better than on your own.
Yeah, I mean, I think as well for guys that, because a lot of people are going into the realms of internet-based businesses at the minute, and it was only when I read the Elon Musk book, and he was saying that people aren't doing anything to revolutionise the world. There's no more real inventors out there, which is why I was actually so excited about interviewing you, because you're one of the only guys I've interviewed actually who have got a real-life product like LIFX that just transformed the way people use lighting in their homes. Is that something that you aspire to do? I mean, are you going out there to change the norm and how things are generally done?
Yeah, I think I've never really thought about it in those terms, but yeah, I think you're right. I think I genuinely want to add value to society. That's my starting point with everything. If you can make some money along the way, that's great. But, I think we're living in a world where there's a lot of problems societally, but there's a lot of good things as well. And I do think that if we're addressing, even if they're basic issues, but we're adding value to society and that's what we keep doing, then you get a better world.
Yeah, absolutely. And do you feel that, because to go into something that you've done, the gate to entry is quite hard to get into that, whereas setting up an online company is nowhere near as hard. I mean, do you think that's part of the issue, that things is so easy to set up an online company now that people are just veering away from doing the more challenging things that you've been doing?
Yeah, that's probably true. I don't really look at what I'm doing as challenging, and that may be silly, but yeah. I think, it's the same attitude, it's the same approach. You do what you've got to do, you do and I actually think too, hardware, even since LIFX started, has gotten easier, and I think within, 3-5 years or so, making a hardware product is going to be just about as easy as making a software product. So anyone who's interested in doing it should get in as soon as possible and sort of learn about it, because it's only going to get easier and easier as other companies who support the entrepreneur or the inventor get better and better at what they do. That makes my job easier.
Yeah, 100%. And did you... you mentioned earlier, Philips bought out the... so what's the name of the bulb they bought out?
The Hue.
The Hue, yeah. Philips are a huge company. I mean, did you see that as a huge disadvantage, or do you actually think you've got more strengths to play on because you are a startup? You can move in so many more directions a lot easier than they can. Yeah,
I think definitely. They have big advantages in things like distribution and manufacturing. There's no doubt about that. And we were very aware of that and did our best to sort of compete with them, but you can't compete with that. but from an idea and an innovation standpoint, they have a huge disadvantage. And that's why you see companies like Philips and a lot of the other big companies just acquiring young, innovative startups quickly, because it's difficult. And I understand that it is difficult. You think, oh, they're a big company, they should just innovate. But no, they've got like history and branding and legals and, a startup has all of those things, but you're not, they sort of move in quicksand, whereas a startup is like putting your sprinting shoes on.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, did you guys get approached at any point by some of the bigger companies with LIFX?
Yeah, look, you kind of always being approached and not at the same time. Like my experience was it's not like someone sends you an email and says, I would like to buy your company. Can we have lunch? So, you just sort of, you're in the industry. There's a lot of people looking at you, and it depends on where they're at as well. They probably got strategies that go out 12 months or even up to 3 to 5 years with acquisitions. And so their corporate strategy, you've got to dovetail in really well. And, I think there was a few people looking around, but at this point in time, no one's sent that email.
Yeah. Okay. And you mentioned that you're now in Silicon Valley. Do you feel that the environment that someone's in plays a massive part on their success? I mean, how do you feel? Do you feel things are different for you now you're in Silicon Valley?
Well, firstly, we started LIFX, like the idea generated in Melbourne, Australia. So I don't think it affects the idea or where that comes from. I actually think, maybe there's an advantage in being a little bit separated from the Valley in that context. But when you want to execute something and make something and do it really well, there's a huge advantage in being in a big tech capital, like Silicon Valley, San Francisco, Seattle, Austin. I'm sure I'm leaving a bunch of things out. I'm aware that there's a real burgeoning industry, tech startups happening in the UK as well. I know the Plume guys who have this awesome CFL light bulb that's super funky. I was talking to them a month or so ago. And so, I think there's these hubs around the world that are springing up. Like even Singapore, I know, is doing really well. Yeah, so, no, it's great. It does matter, for sure.
Yeah, so, I mean, would you almost advise someone that is struggling to execute, that maybe they're not around the right people, to go and find these people and do what you've done, like go to places like Silicon Valley?
Oh, without a doubt. Like, at least visit it. Book a flight, go there for 2 or 3 weeks, at least visit it, soak it up. It would be silly to have a perception of something like Silicon Valley without going there.
Yeah.
And I love the place. Like, I think it's fantastic. One thing I've told people in the past, it's like, if you're a country music singer, you go to Nashville. It's just what you do.
Yeah.
So, at least go there, hang around for a few weeks. You're going to learn a lot, and then maybe take what you know back to your own environment. It might, so yeah, definitely.
Yeah. That's awesome advice. And I think we are running a little bit short of time now, so we'll get on to the last couple of questions. I do like to ask everyone this on the show. If you had to give one piece of advice to someone just starting out today, what would it be and why?
I would say be prolific. So if you want to, make the next most amazing way to solve poverty around the world, start now, never stop, be prolific. And, whether you get there or not, maybe you get part of the way.
Yeah.
And then, yeah.
Oh, great advice. Awesome advice. And actually, I've got one more question, Phil, which did anyone ever tell you that LIFX was a bad idea, that maybe it shouldn't be done?
Yeah, one person. and then he apologized and regrets saying that a few months later. So, but it was all in jest a bit, Yeah. He's a good... Yeah.
Okay. And Phil, if people want to get hold of you, how can they get hold of you online, and where can they find you?
LinkedIn's good. I think, it wasn't good a few years ago, but it's actually quite awesome now. So hit me up on LinkedIn and, we can have a chat.
Awesome. And like always, guys, I'll put the links to Phil's contact details in the show notes below. And that is it. Thank you, Phil, for coming on today and just sharing your story. I think people can get so much just from your Kickstarter campaign alone. I mean, there's some awesome advice in there. So thank you for giving us half hour of your time today. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, no worries, Sam. It's been fun. Appreciate it too.
Cheers, Phil. Thanks a lot.
And there it is, guys. So again, thank you, Phil, for coming on and just sharing with us the knowledge that you've got from your Kickstarter campaign, the successes you've celebrated, and rightly so. And just by going into a lot of detail there, you're going to help so many people out with their own campaigns. So once again, thank you for coming on the show and just delivering so much value there. So guys, that is it for that show. I mean, if you are thinking of starting a Kickstarter campaign, I could thoroughly recommend getting in touch with Phil. I mean, he's very approachable, guys. He's more than happy to help you out. And he really does know how to put together an awesome campaign. So if you are struggling with that, Phil's the man to go to. And guys, from me personally, I just want to thank you all so far for your support that you've shown us. We've got so many more guests coming up, and we're starting to put together quite a few more little programs now, just from all the interviews we're having with all these experts, because we've started to learn so much more than what we already knew, and we're just starting to consolidate everything we're learning now from all the guys we're interviewing, and even from our own experiences as well, which have helped us a lot out with our own businesses. So if you are interested in finding out what that is, guys, that's not content we put out on our site every day, although the content we put out on our site is very helpful. It's very, very detailed blogs about anything that really we're seeing people are struggling with. So if you're struggling with something in particular, then just hit us up and let us know, because we're more than happy to create content for you around that subject. If it's a subject which a lot of people are struggling with, you can guarantee that if you're asking the question, someone else is having issues too. And that's just highlights to us that actually this is stuff people need help with. And we're finding that people are giving such great response from our content, and it's so encouraging for us because we love helping people. I mean, I love helping people and just delivering content which is going to help you set up your own business, which is why I do this podcast at the end of the day. So if you are having any issues, guys, if you're having any troubles, then please just hit us up, get in contact with us via our Facebook page or via email. All the links are in the show notes below, and we'd be more than happy to either one, ask the guys that we're interviewing what their thoughts are on the subject. Two, we'll answer the questions ourselves. And three, if there really is a pressing subject which a lot of people are showing interest in, then we'll put a huge blog out as well, which will help you break down the stages you're struggling with and just delve into some real actionable steps that can help you get out of a rut. But we have got exclusive content as well, guys, and we don't put everything out on our page. We like to hold some stuff back. It's still absolutely free, but we like to give this content to people that really, truly invest in themselves, in their companies, and have subscribed to our list. And by subscribing, you're showing that you are serious about what you're doing, and we want to share some extra cool content with you guys that we don't put out on our pages every day. So if you are interested in that, guys, click the link below, subscribe to the MyCoda mailing list, and on there, guys, you'll get so much more useful information directly in your inbox. And that is it, guys. Last point, if you did enjoy this show, then please hit us up on iTunes, go to MyCoda, and from there, guys, rate, review, and subscribe to the show, and you'll get the shows instantly downloaded into your iTunes folder, and you can enjoy our shows as they are released. So there's many options there for you guys. Get tons of free content from us to help you out with your businesses. And that is it, guys. So I'm going to leave that here. Let's wrap it up and saying thank you for listening to another show, and I'll see you for the next episode of the MyCoda podcast.